Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, guess what day it is? That's right, it is May the 4th here at Giga-Texas, and as you can tell, it's a lot better skies, a lot better weather than what we saw on Friday where we had heavy thunderstorms, and you'll see a little bit of the remnants of that around the site. But there is a lot of things going on here, both with construction and production, and a few announcements that I'd like to make at the end of the intro. But first off, we're going to start on the north end. We'll take a look at that Optimus factory. Despite all the rains, they've been making a lot more progress with that foundation. More of the footings have been completed. More of the geopier is underway. And of course, they're working on more of the rebar cages for the actual foundation. And as you can tell by some of these video clips, it's really working pretty quickly as they get that site ready. Now, an interesting development is just to the east over in Lone Tree Field. We can see some more clearing that is underway just to the north of that Lone Tree itself. This is also near where they've been doing a lot of the tree debris and brush removal and mulching. So I'm not sure if this is just going to be more of movement of equipment from the east side for that advanced technology fab construction, or if this is something new. So I'll definitely keep an eye on that. Speaking of the advanced technology chip fab, work continues on that east side to clear out the area. We see that most of that very large mound of dirt and debris that had been here for years is gone. They're now starting to put in some water pipe through that location and extending that road through there up to connect next to the east side of the battery cathode plant and then all the way up to Lone Tree Field. So we can definitely tell that they are working quickly to get this area cleared out so that we can start construction on this part of the site. As far as production is concerned, it's early on the Monday morning, so things are just getting started, but we can tell that there's at least 25 new of the production versions of the Cybercabs over on the outbound lot. And we can also see a pre-final engineering version near there, and with the lighting and the same conditions, you can really tell the difference between that old matte wrapped Cybercab and the new glossy gold ones over in the outbound lot. So great to see the difference, and that they are continuing to do at least small scale production of the Cybercabs. As far as a few of the announcements that I want to make, first off, just want to let you know that this month is going to be kind of a busy one with potential trips halfway through the month and at the end of the month for me. So my schedule over the next 6 weeks is going to be a little bit chaotic, and part of it has to do with Starship. Now, we've been watching to see when Starship's next launch is going to be. Could be as early as the 12th of May all the way out to the 18th. They've been having some issues with the water deluge system, so those dates are still TBD, but I expect them to try sometime in the middle part of May, and I'm going to go down there and cover that launch. On the way, I'll also stop at the lithium plant and try to get an update of that. So one thing that's going to be affecting my schedule. The next thing is I'm going to be heading out on the 1st of June to Europe. I'm going to be going to the Europe takeover, and this Tesla event is going to be held at Flacco in Austria, put on by the Austria Tesla Owners Group. I'm also going to be touring the Czech Republic, Switzerland, and Germany. I'm also going to be touring Giga Berlin, which is really going to be fun for me. And of course, I'll try my best to cover as much as I can and let you know. But for the next few weeks, just want to let you know what's going on. So without further ado with the intro, let's get the drone in the air and see what else is going on here at Giga-Texas today.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas.
Well, good morning from a high altitude view of most of Giga-Texas today. We're flying to the northeast over much of the new construction. You also see the east side where they are clearing out land by the Colorado River for that advanced technology fab chip manufacturing plant. At the bottom of the screen, you can see how River Road is working its way through the trees, and it's about to exit into Lone Tree Field. And this field itself also has some changes today. You can tell that on the kind of the right-hand side of the screen where there is a new clearing being put in. And of course, it has that central road that has access up through this location. On the left-hand side of the screen is another area where they're preparing for trailers and equipment. So it is possible that this whole area is going to be the new location for much of the equipment, trailers, and other items that are on the east side of the warehouse on wheels for that advanced chip fab factory construction. The bottom of the screen here is where they've been doing some of the tree and vegetation reclamation and also mulching and getting that off of the site. And it looks like most of that is gone. Over at the Optimus factory foundation today, amongst much of the mud and some of the standing water that is from that heavy rainstorm that came through Friday and early this weekend, we can see that there is a lot more work that is being done. On the bottom of the screen is that north part of the silt fence. It looks like they may be preparing a section for materials. They're also putting in some more dirt around the perimeter of the main factory, which also is looking much more defined here today. They may be doing some preparation work to begin working on where they're going to have the perimeter grade beam at some point. But most of it, it looks like they're bringing in dirt and preparing this for staging on this north side. They're getting ready to have this large hill that we just flew over removed as they're using that for fill. The geopiers are hard at work all over the site. We have the compactor that we're just flying around here right now, some other geopier equipment on the bottom of the screen, and some of the drills here as well next to where the workers are putting the rebar cages together. Of course, we see these large amounts of footings already completed and poured with concrete. Inside this main excavation, geopiers are hard at work. You can see the little bobcat bringing some of the gravel over, put it into the hole that was drilled, and then they're compacting it down to make those piers. More work for the foundation here. We can see the various foundations on the left with the excavation. And many of the other ones also have the concrete that is poured. Geopiers working at the middle of the screen and keeping the view in. We get a look back towards the main factory so we get a great sense of where we are located. More geopiers on the north end, more of the rebar cages and footing work. A large patchwork of footings now throughout this section, and of course also visible in that larger excavation that's the shape of the plus is those geopiers that are hard at work adding in more of the piers throughout this entire section. A lot of speculation about why this is the way it is. It's possible that this is going to be either underground utilities, conduit, that sort of thing, or maybe for heavy equipment. Of course, many of the footings are flooded with water, as you can tell, because of all the heavy rains that we had over the weekend. The south end larger excavation has had most of the gravel installed, as you can tell. The large hill at the south end is still there, and that will most likely be used at some point for fill. As I pull farther to the south away, I wanted to just give a view of where the foundation is on the left and at the bottom of the screen, where I think eventually we may see this building extend, possibly as a second phase. Not 100% sure. I don't see any permits on that yet. Just going on the way that that foundation itself is forming, and also tell some of the road work that they put on top of the linear hills heading towards the south. Now I'm going to come back up to Lone Tree Field momentarily. I want to show you that there is additional work being done where we've seen some of these new trailers and also that mobile that yellow item, which is a mobile crane. Also, some rental equipment is now showing up at the bottom of the screen. It's kind of those man lifts next to that red refilling station, and other equipment and vehicles are showing up here now. So I really do think this is going to be where the current east side equipment and workshops are located, and I think it'll be moved up here for that construction. The crushing operation for the concrete continues. Large mounds of rebar and other materials continue for recycling. We can see that there is still more yet to be done in this section that we are flying over. The new refilling station is coming into view at the center of the screen with those red tanks. Of course, another material staging yard next to this tree, and coming into view is more of the transformers that will be installed on the west side of Cortex 2. A few other items that have been delivered, and on the bottom of the screen it looks like maybe they're doing some work on one of those transformers. I'm going to fly along the north side towards Cortex 2. We'll take a look at some of the developments that are going on at this building. I wasn't able to show you too much on my previous video because of the conditions, but we can tell that there is a lot more materials and workshop on the left-hand side of the screen here, and more deliveries that are underway. Here's a great example of that with this truck with these 4 bundles. And we know that they have partially operational capability in Cortex 2 because they continue to bring in more of the computer cabinetry in addition to all of the other equipment that is necessary for the cooling and electrical systems. So that is maybe what we are seeing. The more equipment and materials at the bottom of the screen. The big thing is, of course, that the superstructure for part 2 of the cooling system is really taking shape now, plus the first 2 outlets or the openings on the roof structure where we are going to see 2 of the fans. Eventually there will be 6, and this is going to be a mirror image of the part 1 fan units that is going to be coming into view on the left-hand side of the screen next to those 14 megapacks and all of the temporary cooling systems that are on the ground. And this is a nice view looking down at the entire system. It looks like perhaps 3 to 4 of the fans are now working on the part 1 of the cooling system, which is another indicator, although not directly indicating the amount of effort and work that is underway with the computer system. More of the pipes on the bottom of the screen and the excavations that we have seen. And it looks like maybe there's going to be risers for light poles around the side of the south side of the building. Here is the existing megapacks as they look today. There's approximately 120 or so on this side of the factory or the building. And all of this is preparation to approximately double the amount of megapacks. I think when all is said and done, Cortex 2 is going to have somewhere in the 250 to 260 megapack range. And that is in addition to the 140 that we have on the other 2 megapack sites, which you can see at the top right of the screen. As I continue to pull away to the north, a great view of that work on the west side of the Cortex 2, the temporary roads that have been paved for mud mitigation, the pond that is quite full of water because of all the rains, and here at the north end of the electrical switch yard, you can see that there's some sort of station that we just passed on the bottom of the screen, more of the materials for the bases of the towers on the north side. Most of the assembly of the steel items and the electrical equipment on the north part is complete. And here on the south side by the 6th transformer, that work continues, although most of the assembly looks like it is complete. The work that remains is doing the electrical connections, which you can see are missing on that 6th section on the south end of the transformer. As I fly over these trailers, some of which are relocated from the east side, plus the temporary trailers on the right-hand side of the screen for Tesla, crossing over Tesla Road and Robotic Avenue's main intersection, come over towards where the contractor vehicles are parked, plus the east warehouse on wheels. And we can see a large mound or pile, large pond, of water here from all the rains. Also, a lot of the clearing that is going away, underway to prepare for the construction. The fencing is still here, which defines the roadway where the deliveries are happening, but I'm kind of expecting to see some of the fencing starting to be moved as they get more of these workshops and the equipment and materials moved away. We see a lot of that stocked on the bottom of the screen next to these workshops, and I'm kind of expecting to see this being moved soon, along with the other steel items on the right-hand side of the screen. As I look back to the north, this is a nice view of how it is clearing out. We've kind of talked about the rendering showing the advanced technology fab being a little bit farther south on this site, but based on the clearing, based on the work that they're doing, and also the pond that we will see in a moment, I think it's moving, it's going to be relocated closer to the battery cathode plant here. As we come back to the battery cathode plant and the crash test facility, just stay up at a higher altitude here. You can see that there are more Cybercabs still waiting by the fence, and of course the refreshed semi. Not a lot of change here recently, other than moving some of the crash-tested Cybercabs over to recycling, which we will see. Now this is a big change. We've got this opening in the wall, the temporary loading platform. Previous video or so, we saw them working on the wall, and now it looks like there's going to be more equipment brought in to that second floor of the cathode building. As I zoom back out, this is a lower altitude view of what we started the video with, just showing you the continued work to fill in this section and prepare for River Road to come through this location. Plus additional work that is now proceeding along the left-hand side of the screen all the way around to connect in River Road. So we pass over this pile of dirt. Half of it has now been removed. The rest will be still used for fill. In the area where the old equipment maintenance facility for the concrete trucks is pretty much gone. There's two small excavations remaining, but we see the dirt being filled in. This small pavilion still is needing to be removed. Part of the roof looks like it has started to be removed. Of course, the very large hill that used to be here is almost completely gone. All of the debris is gone, and now they're doing trenching for some of these water pipes that you can see at the bottom right of the screen. More of them are here getting prepared for installation. You can see the workers at the bottom of the screen doing that. And as we continue to fly to the south, more of this dirt is being redistributed around and preparing to extend the roadway, which now is having some concrete curbs, as you can tell on the left-hand side of the screen. More of the standing water next to some of the materials because of those rains again. I think all that is about to be moved away. And of course, this large section of workshops is also going to need to be removed. This is what is doing some of the fabrication of the pipes that are being used for the cooling system in Cortex 2, also possibly in the south end of the building. This is a great view with the lighting of that work that's being done. And you can see where they do the painting of those pipes just before they go over for installation. More work on this pond with those retaining walls, some of the excavation for the drainage system, of course, the curbs that I mentioned on the roadway. And as we continue to maneuver towards the pond itself, zoom back in, nice look at that work in detail. And at the bottom of the screen is more of those Cybercabs, although half of them have already been recycled. There's only 6 remaining. There were 12 last week in my last video. As I zoom back out, we can see this recycle center. Of course, this is also going to have to be relocated, especially if the building is going to extend to this part and is not pushed too much more to the north. But that'll be something that I do watch as more of the construction continues. So I turn towards this material staging yard next to the wind tunnel, the helicopter pad, and the parking lot. This is a nice update of all the trailers and equipment that have been brought in. This is also a location where some of the materials on the east side are being relocated. The work on the east side of the parking garage looks to be mostly completed with all of the trench work filled in. The drainage system, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, plus the intersection for River Road. The dividers on the left-hand side of the screen for the robotic avenue have been removed, so it suggests that we're going to start seeing traffic through here very soon. More of the drainage pipes on the bottom right, and a nice view here along the newly asphalt paved road. You can see that there's 2 lanes or 2 directions, 4 lanes, 2 on each direction, and how it connects into River Road going on the south side of the building. This material staging yard has got more of the wooden crates with production equipment, I believe, or perhaps equipment that is related to the high pressure cooling system that is being added into this part of the building. I'll zoom in so we can see the workshop on the right. The trailers, the gantry crane looks like it has been removed as well. Some other deliveries taking place and some materials at the bottom left of the screen. As I pivot the drone towards the exit point for the Cybercabs, we can see that there are 4 new ones here. Some of them have wheel covers, some of them do not, and some of them actually have the engineering markings on the doors. So this is probably maybe just a mix of the vehicles, perhaps being used for movement around the site, not necessarily production vehicles anymore. We've seen that with the other models of the Cybertruck and the Model Y. As the production ramped up, they started using some of the older ones for just transport around the site. The cooling system here is the temporary one, and it's augmenting until that construction for the high pressure cooling system can be completed. And I have seen some permits on that. On the north side of the parking garage, the conduit trenching and installation is continuing. And this is what the temporary lot looks like today. A lot less vehicles. And there's actually a Cybercab doing some supercharging there as well. As we fly over a Cyber Circle, I'm going to zoom in on these equipment items and the crates, just so we can get a good sense of the items that are here on the east side of the building. A lot of the castings and racking systems for the Model Ys, the batch cooling or filtration system. And as we continue to maneuver over to the melt center, this is a nice view with the lighting of the operations here. The second furnace loading system is still not operational, but it's mostly complete. And a nice look at the casting sorting lot here on the north part of the factory. So I'm going to reposition up over the power lines and show you what's going on at the 4680 section of the factory. We've seen a lot of this equipment being stored on the far southwest side of the material staging, these white cabinets. You can see the red bar in the middle. It looks like these are being actively moved into the facility, and it's part of 4680 production. So it's nice to see that happening. We'll see where that is coming from a little later in the video. The recycle center here for the battery cans. Looks like there is one bin with the 4680 cans. There's a lot of other materials here. Looks like maybe containers or a wrapping in the recycle bins. But that may give us a good idea that there is definitely something going on inside related to batteries, which is extending their production capability. At least I hope so. I know that they've been putting a lot of work into that. As we proceed to the exit point for the Model Y from the factory, I'll zoom in here, or at least we'll get a better view here of another Model Y exiting out of the doorway down the ramp, driving autonomously over to the outbound lot for further processing. And that will join in many of the other vehicles that are there waiting for that. So I'm going to reposition the drone, turn it to look towards the west across the highway. We'll proceed along the highway, just getting a good view overall of the activity here today. You can tell that it's beginning of a Monday and the beginning of the week with the outbound lot not very full. And we'll resume on the south side of the factory. While we're here on the south side at high altitude, I thought I would do a 360 and show you what is going on just to the south of the Colorado River. You can see the ecological uplift project with all the trees in the upper right, the work on the south for infrastructure and apartments. More work just to the south of Falwell Lane with all of the pipes, of course, the energy plant and the wastewater plant, more of the Colorado River, and looking back to the east side across the main factory to much of the site that we have already visited. Resuming on the west side of the highway, I'm going to fly along the West Warehouse on Wheels, which has a lot of trailers, as you can tell. And of course, the material staging yard, which we will look at here closely momentarily, and showing you where the test track is. Plus, I thought we would fly a little lower, show you some of the materials that are being stored here, and then get a look at the work that is being done on the track itself. So it looks like this is just mostly overflow with some wooden crates. Maybe those are some more production equipment that is being stored here temporarily. As I zoom in, you can tell that most of the trench work for the underground water management pipes are completed. There is more trench work being done here in the middle of the screen and across this infield section. And I don't know if this is going to be more of the stormwater pipe, or maybe this is going to be for electrical conduit. You can tell that there is grade differences between the road surface, that center infield area, and also what looks like drainage ditches with the darker kind of mud down the middle of it, showing you where water has collected. As we continue to maneuver towards the southwest corner, it does look like there's some additional work being done on the right-hand side of the screen, plus some more trench work near the apex of the center oval. As I bring the drone up to a higher altitude, you can really get a sense of the amount of water that we got over that Friday major storm and some of the weekend. It looks like there may be a raised section at the bottom center of the screen defining the two parts of the track. Of course, we have this one area where the two ponds are and some of the other debris. It doesn't look like they've done a whole lot here other than the berm work. And as we mentioned before, the drainage pipes exit into these ponds. So it looks like those are going to be retained for water management and overflow for the track as it becomes operational. Now I'll stay at this lower altitude just to give a more detailed look at what is going on in this infield section, and also the parking lot on the top of the screen. I'm going to stay at this altitude, go over the power lines, and show you a couple of details of what's going on at this staging yard. This is the supercharger workshop, and there's a lot of equipment posts all over the place, and they've been assembling many of these over the last several months. We're flying over the folding unit bases, which is a relatively new development for the superchargers that aids and speeds the installation off-site. Here is where some of those cabinets are being prepared to be moved to the 4680 cell portion of the factory. We saw some of these already had been delivered. Looks like they're washing off some of the mud and other dust that has accumulated on this as they've been stored for the last several months before they are moved inside. Passing this workshop and some materials, the number of transformers, it seems to be still a pretty good number of them, but we have been seeing some of them being loaded up on trucks and departing the site. So I'll keep an eye on that. As I mentioned earlier, it's early on the Monday, so the outbound lot is not super full, but we do see groups of Model Ys and this group of Cybertrucks on this part of the site. When I come back on Wednesday, we should have a much better idea of how production is going for all three of the vehicles, the Cybercab, the Cybertruck, and the Model Y. Over the superchargers, we see a mix of vehicles, including another Cybercab, and a large group of about 21 or so of the gold Cybercabs. Now, the interesting thing is they have the engineering one on the right-hand side of the screen. That's in that matte wrap, and you can get a really great idea of the color difference and just the visual striking differences between the engineering version and the final versions here in the same light and the same conditions. I'll bring the drone down lower, get a nice bird's eye view of this grouping of Cybercabs. I had some viewers ask, why are the wheels mismatched and why don't they have the wheel covers on?
kind of covered that on a few different videos, but briefly, the rear wheels are alloys and they are different as far as the design and the size, and the fronts, which are steel. And that is the final design. The wheel covers are all in the back of the vehicles, and they do not put them on during transport. They are put on when they get to their final destination. I did notice that there was 2 more here with the wheel covers on. This is a nice kind of way to end that discussion about the wheels, showing you what it looks like when they are on. The other question I get is that band of gold on the rubber of the wheel of the tires themselves. Is that going to be the final design? I don't really know for sure. I don't think so, because it looks like it's kind of adhered to the tire itself rather than manufactured into the tire. But that will be a thing that I will watch as we get more into production to see what they are planning on doing. But the wheels and the wheel covers are common questions I get all of the time. So hopefully that is helpful. We can see the vehicles showing up in the 4 sorting lanes on the left, others getting ready to go into the end of line facility. And while I'm here, I thought I would pivot over this field, which eventually will be a construction site, but right now is being a place to store the racks for castings and also overflow for materials that you can see here at the bottom of the screen. It seems to me like they are growing in numbers. It's most likely these are being relocated from the east side as well, as I've seen much of that equipment over the last year or 2 over on the east side. Much of this equipment, including the Evapco fans and much of the steel, changes out periodically. At least the steel does, not the fans, but otherwise really doesn't really change very much very often. The rental equipment lot looks busy here today, and some more of the transport trucks on the north end. So that will be it. I'll bring the drone up to a much higher altitude here to show you the west side, looking to the south of Giga-Texas. And that will pretty much bring us to an end for this video. I'm glad to be able to get the drone back in the sky and see with good, clear visibility, and I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see. Take care.